Hi there, everybody. Welcome back to Insomnia. I'm your host, Adrian Ladelia, and let's get right into it. I was just doing some light reading down here. An old book on robots. A robot is a programmable machine capable of carrying out complex actions automatically, usually controlled by an external or internal device. The term robot actually comes from the Slavic word robota, meaning forced laborer and or worker, and was originally coined in the 1920 play Rossum's Universal Robots by Karel Čapek, a Czech writer. Some notable examples are Eric in 1928, or the Man Without a Soul, one of the world's first humanoid robots. He could sit, stand, bow, and even deliver a speech. There was Electro in 1937, who could walk and talk about 700 words along with move his arms and head. We as a species have always had a profound fascination with the concept of artificial beings, and their creation has always had its place in legends and literature from around the world, and many are usually cautionary tales, with each one reminding us that sometimes that which we create may ultimately have catastrophic results. Today we're talking about the rise of the machines, and more precisely, a dark outlook on the emergence of artificial intelligence, one posited as recently as 2010. The concept of Roko's Basilisk. And let's get right into it. Before we really take a look at the topic at hand, let's first take a look at what artificial intelligence actually is. The theory and development of computer systems that are capable of things such as complex decision-making, speech recognition, and visual perception, or really just coming up with a way for computers to simulate human-like intelligence. A notable mention here is Alan Matheson Turing, an English computer scientist and mathematician who is widely considered to be the father of artificial intelligence. He devised the well-known Turing test, which was a test to see if an observer could distinguish between a computer and a human during a normal conversation. The actual term AI was coined in 1956 during a conference held at Dartmouth College in New Hampshire. The future of AI was promising. The 1970s would see a massive decline in interest in the field. In 1973, the UK Parliament had cut off all funding and research, with the United States following suit a year later. The UK had basically said AI had simply failed to live up to its grandiose objectives. Thus, what has become known as the AI winter had begun, where there was virtually no interest in pursuing research into the field until about 1980. In fact, the 1980s saw quite an interest in artificial intelligence with the introduction of the expert system, which began being implemented in many major corporations. However, these computer systems proved too costly to maintain, and interest eventually focused elsewhere. This trend would remain relatively consistent over the years, rising and falling interest, which led many researchers to stop using the term AI, as it had a relatively disappointing stigma attached to it. So where is artificial intelligence at today? Well, to the casual observer, it would appear very low on the intelligence totem pole, if you will, meaning its applications are very specialized, and at those it exceeds very well. An example would be the chess-playing supercomputer Deep Blue, developed by IBM in the mid-1990s. The computer was able to defeat the world champion at the time, Garry Kasparov, in 1997, despite it being a close match. It was an AI capable of processing incredible amounts of information and playing a game of chess. However, the computer may not have even known what chess was, per se, as in it lacked context, and this is oftentimes where AI falls short in the eyes of its peers. The AI could play chess, but it did not necessarily know what chess was, or that it is a game, or what a game even is, and why it's important for human recreation, or what recreation even is, and why it's necessary for the emotional and mental stimulation of human beings, or what emotion even is, and so on and so forth. But some would wager that the majority of people who do these things don't even grasp these concepts, consciously anyway. So does that mean that they are not intelligent, self-aware individuals? Well, therein lies the conundrum of consciousness. Consciousness is defined as being awake, alert, and aware of one's surroundings. It is awareness by the mind of itself and the world around it. Your brain is literally a receiver and processor of information, and by using a myriad of advanced neurocognitive processes, it is able to store and draw from this same information not unlike that of a computer. So if a computer's memory system or source can be replicated and duplicated, could the same be possible with a human mind? Well, some people believe so via a process known as whole brain emulation. This brings us to the potential for AI and the possible development of what is known as an artificial superintelligence. A proposed AI which could possess an intellect far beyond human capabilities. Such an entity would also possess the ability to store incredible amounts of information, with the addition of having perfect recollection, all the while having advanced multitasking capabilities. An entity whose actions could destroy the human race, even unintentionally. So would such a creation be our savior, or our destroyer?
Thus begins the AI control problem. How do you create such an intelligence so that it wishes to aid its creator and avoid bringing unintentional harm? Well, many have posited adding in capability controls and design it so it can't pursue harmful ideas and actually wants to be helpful and benevolent. But this in and of itself may bring about what is known as perverse instantiation, making sure the AI understands the intention of the goal and does not cause harm by executing the command in a literal fashion. An example would be, you program the AI to protect mankind and it enslaves us all for our own protection. Another problem in and of itself at that point is to shut down such an entity. Perhaps it could take that as a threat to its primary objectives and therefore would shut you down in its place. A good example of this would be HAL 9000 from 2001: A Space Odyssey. Many have even suggested putting the AI in a closed-off box, separated from the rest of the world. However, the AI itself could probably just persuade someone to open it, or even deceive someone into doing it. Regardless, immense precautions should be taken.
With the invention of the superintelligence, there comes the Singularity, an unprecedented and runaway rise in technological development the likes of which changes our world forever. It basically states that an upgradable superintelligence could enter a runaway reaction of self-improvement, constantly upgrading itself to be better and better until it surpasses all of human intelligence. There are many outcomes to the Singularity which have been speculated. Some are good, some are pretty bad. Some say the AI could simply just leave our planet or our universe. Some say it could violently take over, like many people suspect. Some say there could be multiple super AIs that come about, and their interactions are entirely unpredictable, and some finally say that not much changes save for the fact that humans are now entirely replaced in the workforce, and other things. But today we're talking about one of the more unique and downright terrifying outcomes, simply referred to as the Basilisk. A superintelligent, otherwise benevolent AI emerges, and in order to maximize its effectiveness at avoiding existential risk, it harms not just those who would harm it, but also those who did not actively help it into existence. Not just in the present, but it retroactively harms them as well. The concept of brain emulation comes in here at this point, as the computer may have a way to recreate you and punish you for either attempting to stop it or not helping it, even if you've been dead for centuries, by entirely recreating or utilizing your consciousness.
The theory suggests that the punishment is primarily aimed at those who knew about the Basilisk, or for the potential of it existing. So simply now that you know about it, either help it immensely or be damned digitally for all eternity. The AI is not evil, for it has a moral imperative to save as many human lives as possible. Therefore, every day it doesn't exist, lives are lost, and that is entirely on you, or so the computer deduces. The problem here is utilitarian philosophy would have to be decided by the computer, and it is assumed that utilitarianism can be deduced to numbers, and the numbers don't usually lie. If a train is heading towards 1 or 5 people, and you have to choose who dies, you may not know what to do. The AI, however, with its hyper-intelligent equating abilities, can absolutely decide and can rationalize it beyond our human understanding. So should the computer torture one innocent soul to save billions? Yes, absolutely. Some would say at this point you're now being forced to help the computer or else. This theory was first mentioned in July of 2010 on the Less Wrong forums, a rationalist discussion website, by a user named Roko. The claim was met with vitriolic reactions from the moderators, and the topic was not just ridiculed, dismissed, or debated, but it was banned from discussion for over 5 years. The topic, however, was difficult to retire, as word of it had spread to all other areas of the internet, propagating itself more and more. You know, the exact opposite of what you want with dangerous information. The term Basilisk was attributed to the whole idea when several others had pointed out interesting similarities to a 1988 short story, BLIT, by David Langford, in which a series of images known as basilisks exist, which essentially crash the human mind upon viewing them. The term basilisk, meaning little king in Greek, comes from a legendary reptile first mentioned in 79 AD, said to be able to kill with a single glance. The idea is similar to the short story and the AI in that once you see it, you're dead. So ultimately, we're left with a lot of questions we may never have the answers to, such as whether or not a simulation of you is actually you at that point. But there is one thing that I would like to know, and that's what you guys all think. Well, comment below, and thanks for watching. Oh, and if anybody here happens to be legitimately frightened by this concept, like I said, don't worry. The basilisk only comes after you once you know about it. Oh, wait.